Hello, hello. Welcome to the Power of the People podcast. So welcome back. I know it's been a minute. This is your boy, Sugar Ray, as your host, or Lorraine Little Walker, as most people call me. I'm here today with a special guest from out of town. I is Miss Maya Woods.
Cadiz.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I want to thank you for joining us today and blessing us with your presence to the Power of the People podcast.
All right, great to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Superintendent Emeritus Maya Woods-Cadiz.
Oh, yeah. Okay, okay. All the way from now. Tell us a little about where you're from.
All right, I'm from California and Northern California, specifically Oakland, California, Oakland in the house.
Nice, 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 nice. So yes, so you're down you're excited to have you. You're one of my favorite peoples. I could say new favorite people in my life. My auntie, my aunt-in-law, and auntie in love, and just family, period. So, this is gonna be a special one and good one. All right. So God is my Woods.
Cadiz.
Like Cadiz, where Cadiz come from?
So Cadiz is, well, as you know, Carlos is Filipino. And, there was that complex history of colonialism. And so we got the Cadiz. And so I've kept the Cadiz. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then awesome Woods last name. Yeah.
Yes.
Turn that to Walker, right?
Yeah.
So a little bit, let's start off a little bit about, where you how you grew up, your childhood, where you from as a child and how did you grow up? And let's have a little bit.
So I grew up in Oakland, California, and a child of C, my mother, and so she was the beautiful, wonderful, never to be replaced C, and so. C was a child of Oakland. She was like fourth generation Oaklander, and so I was her child, and I was also a child of MAGA. My dad, Bill Woods, who was a product of St. Louis, the Lou. And so, grew up in Oakland during like very active times, right? We had our clinic, which was tied to the Black Panther movement. The food program for the Black Panthers started in the basement of my grandmother's church, the church my mother grew up in. So I'm a product of all that, right? I just always grew up wanting to do more, grew up in the home of faith. God was always first. God is still first. And so, while there were adverse situations at times, there was always that core. Regardless of what was going on between my mom and my dad, the point that was consistent with both of them was a commitment to service. So my mother would say, and Shirley Chisholm, she got it from her, is that service was a price we paid to live on this earth. And my father always said, everybody needs love. And so grew up with that, grew up seeing like the whole, Oakland at the time in like the 70s and 80s and all of that. Grew up with like a deep commitment to others and to God and purpose and wanting to make this world a better place in whatever place he placed me to do that. Yeah. Okay. Yes. I did tell you that, I would be getting a lot of applause.
Hey, well deserved, well deserved.
Right.
That's well deserved. You did get a lot. Hey, one more cheers.
All right. There you go.
I like to get to know, like, give me a good 3 adjectives that describe your strength.
My strengths. I'd like to think I'm a good listener. I wasn't always, but I'm getting better at that. For everybody, right? I am a person of faith. So there's not too much that could be thrown at me. Actually, there's nothing could be thrown at me that I can't handle in some way or another because I know it's not my place to handle it. So, and I think I'm a person of love, and I think sometimes the way I show love doesn't always feel like love, right? Because I'm going to hold people accountable to be their better self. It depends. And I've learned to temper it better the older I've gotten. Yeah.
I'm a pretty cool direct.
Right. It takes time.
So what have been some challenges with all of those?
Let's
You have
see.
found some challenges with your strengths.
Oh, absolutely. I think that listening can be confused with not being active. especially if you're listening to someone that other people around don't think deserve your ear.
Gotcha.
Right, which is it's a thing, right? Because, then there's that whole judgment of other people, like, "Well, why don't you, just dismiss them out of your presence," type of thing. And we're all people of grace. Like, we literally don't deserve anything but hell, but a loving God has saved us. So how do we not give that to someone else, right? To a limit with healthy boundaries. And then I think also, being a woman of faith and knowing that not too much, if anything at all, is going to come at me, that, either God is going to deliver me or he's going to take me to him, one of the two. So I don't think people always get that. So they're like, oh, you're optimistic, you're Pollyanna. I'm not easily shaken. And then I think the third thing is, you gotta give people accountability and direction, but with love, right? And so that's hard because you don't know where people's sensitivities points are. My children now on this side of having grown children, one of the things is, they would bring home a B maybe, and I'd be like, oh, that's great. Now what's the next step to get to an A? And I'm realizing now yeah, right. But I didn't want them to see it as me not appreciating that. But I think maybe living on this side of it, to them, it felt like maybe I was always criticizing as opposed to, I would have answered that differently. I would have celebrated the B, given it time and just be like, oh, hey, when you're working on this, have you thought about, right? But that's on the other side of life, right? Yeah, what you don't know. And if you're the same person that you were when you're 30, and now that you are, 50 and fabulous above, uh, then you haven't grown. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm learning. I listen to him, but sometimes he has his own objective of
Oh,
how he
man.
wanna
Uh-huh.
do things, and like you said, you sell they have their milestones that they think
Hmm.
are great, and
Right.
you want to celebrate it, but you're
Yeah.
like it's not as great as you think it is.
Right.
I think I was listening to the other day. Yeah, yeah, I was listening to Jameis Winston. Jameis
Okay.
Winston. I don't know if you know Jameis. He's in football. Jameis made a statement. People always ask him questions. How do we feel about himself when he has done great? But how do we feel about it?
Right.
He said, he won a Heisman Trophy. He was this All American. He was a starting quarterback, then lost his job. But he done hit the highs and lows. And they asked him a question, and this goes back to this will be Titus said. Oh, he said, I wish I would have dreamed bigger. He
Mm-hmm.
said, I wish I would have dreamed bigger. He said,
Yeah.
I always wanted to be in the NFL.
Yeah.
And he said I did that because I
Yeah.
dreamed it.
Right.
He said I dreamed that I saw myself wanted to be a Heisman.
Yeah.
He said I dreamed of that.
I got that.
I wanted to be a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
I became a starting quarterback. He said, but I never dreamed about winning the Super Bowl. And I never won a Super Bowl.
Interesting. That is interesting.
And he said, I wish I would just dream
Bigger.
instead of what I accomplished a lot, but if I would have dreamed a little bit bigger, how much more could I accomplish?
Right.
Of the things that I really could value this later in this career. So
Yeah.
that was pretty good that you said that. Kind of
It's a
resonated.
phrase I use. So, I've been told, so this isn't me saying it, but I've been told by those that I lead that I was a good leader because I looked at them as a person and I helped them set their goals as opposed to coming in and, sometimes people come in and they have all the ideas, but they don't listen and they don't take time to figure out what's there, right? And a phrase that I often would use, in fact, we had it as a couple years ago, it was our theme for our district, and I actually had a T-shirt I designed for them and everything. And I got it from a gentleman I saw on the internet, but he gave this kind of like tips for life. And so he said the top of one mountain is the bottom of another. So, what I'm learning is, because now I've had this career shift, I've been a successful teacher, then I was a successful principal, successful director, successful superintendent for the past 11 years, right? And so now I'm in this, okay, now what? What's the next mountain? Right. And so sometimes it's maybe you didn't dream bigger in the moment, but you can reset the dream, Yeah, because you're at the top of this mountain, but it doesn't mean there aren't more mountains to climb. Now you got to figure out which mountain you want to climb. Or you need to figure out which mountain does God want you to climb.
Okay.
Yeah. because he'll equip you, with whatever mountain he puts you
A lot
to.
of Jews in here. I said,
Yeah.
oh yeah, nice Jews. I appreciate
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, wherever he places you, he'll equip you to climb that mountain, but you and he have to figure out what mountain that is.
that.
Yeah.
Man, okay. And at the top of every mountain, it's a new mountain.
Mhm.
The bottom of every mountain.
Yeah. The top in one mountain is always the bottom of the next. Yeah.
So that means once you climb one, you look for the next.
You don't always look for the next one. Sometimes that mountain finds you. If you're and there are skills that you're equipped with, right? So if you are climbing a mountain, for example, in Colorado, and you get to the top of the mountain, you are not at the top of a mountain that.
I'm a Texas, so we don't see a lot of mountains.
Well, right. Yeah, y'all got kind of hills, I guess. But if you're at the top of a mountain in Colorado, right? And you're like, okay, now I got to climb the next mountain. You could get in a plane, get in a car, get down the mountain, get to a plane, and get over to Nevada. That's a possibility, Sierra. But the reality is you're at the top of a mountain in Colorado. Most likely, your next mountain is sitting in Colorado. In other words, like football. Football was his mountain. That's his Colorado. He kept climbing. I don't know how old he is, but if he's at a point and he really wanted that to be, what does it look like to stay in Colorado and climb some other football? It may not be Super Bowl, but it might be something else in that field. Or, sometimes God will be like, get on that plane and go to Las Vegas or to the Sierras, right? But you don't always find that mountain. That mountain is already inside of you because of the skills and things that you're direct, right? That have developed within you. And so you find that next thing and you climb it. And what's amazing to me, I always used to think, well, there was a point in your life where there aren't mountains. And then my mother got Alzheimer's. And she was in the rest home, and she wasn't, barely knew who I was and all of this. And I was talking to the Lord, and I said, what is this about? Like, my mother's been faithful. She tithed 10 plus 5, 15%, right? She raised us in the church. She was the one that was visiting people in rest homes. I was like, Lord, she was so faithful to you. Why is she sitting like that? And I had a nurse come up to me, and they said, we just love Marcy. She comes around, and she holds the hands of people that are upset. And she's so sweet. And when the other patients are having problems, she'll sit down and smile and hold their hand and calm them down. I said, oh, you got it. Okay, you're funny. I get it. I get it. She may have lost something else, but that mountain in her wasn't lost. And that next mountain that he had for her was to minister to those who were ill like her in the rest home. You're laughing at me.
No, that was a good one. No.
Yeah.
I apologize for that. But no, that's definitely a good one. Because I often think of those things. But people find themselves in facing adversity or challenges when they are climbing, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes it seems like their mountains are going the opposite direction.
Right.
So it's getting steeper,
Mhm.
and they don't understand. But sometimes, it could be God position him in a place exactly where he needed, or someone else needs him spiritually,
Right.
or it could also be an opportunity for it to be equipping them.
He might just be building your muscles. Yeah, I know a little something sometimes, just a little bit.
What has been the most touching or amazing moment you have experienced in your profession?
And my most touching, amazing.
Touching and most amazing.
I've been
that you can recall.
blessed to have a lot of them. When I was a teacher, and I hope, maybe she'll hear this because I'm still proud of this young lady. There was a young lady that came to us, and I was teaching second grade at the time. She was probably 9 or 10 years old, and she was reading at a first grade level, but they couldn't put her in first grade. It was a stretch to put her in second. And she came to us having never been in school, like didn't know how to write her name or anything. By the end of the year, that young lady was reading.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she went up to our principal at the time. He's actually in a memory care now. Bless his heart. He was an awesome teacher at principal. And so she came up to him and she said, I could read. And he was like, well, what did you do with her? We didn't think she'd get that far, And I was not proud of the job I did. I was proud of the difference it made for her because it opened a whole new world and she could catch up to where she needed to be. When I was a principal, just things that kids have said to me, like, oh, we saw there was a tough time and there was one parent who was upset about something and she was going around saying all this stuff. And the kid came up to me and said, this parent said such and such to my parent. And I said, well, what did I say to you? when people talk about you and you know it's not true. And he said, "You always tell me to just ignore them." I said, "Well, that's what I'm gonna do too." And also, so that was the kind of leadership I tried to set. And so years later, there was a young lady and she called me up, and I remember her because her mother had passed and she was raised by her father, and she didn't have, a lot of direction and support. And so there was a challenge she had hit in her life that she didn't have anyone to go to. Now, she was grown. I mean, I was an elementary principal. This was years later. So I get this call, and she looked me up on the internet, and she said, "Do you remember me? I'm so and so." I said, "Yeah, baby, I remember you. And, how's your family?" And she said, "Well, I'm hitting this problem and I don't know how to solve it. And can I talk to you about it?" I said, "Sure, you can talk to me about it." So she told me, and we sat and we processed, and she sounded so much happier and lighter at the end of it. And I said, "Anytime, give me a call back." And she said, "Oh, I will. And this helped. And I think I know what direction I'm going to go." And I haven't heard from her since. But the fact that she remembered her elementary school principal would be there if she needed her. And she was a grown woman, grown as in 20s. I'm proud of that. I'm very proud that when I got to Ames, it was failing and it was about to close. And because of the work of my team and I, we got it to be and still, hopefully in the top 5% in the state. And all of our kids, regardless of if they were special education, they had just come to this country, parents, economic level, all of them got accepted to four-year colleges and universities. We closed the achievement gap for our African American students. I mean, all of our students, SPED, everyone was beating the state average. And while our SPED population was small under our district authorizer, the moment we took over that and started doing it ourselves with Arthur, we started to rapidly increase our numbers. Now, some political stuff happened, and I'm not going to get into that, and, all of that. But the work speaks for itself, and no one can ever argue against the fact that we were changing the lives of children and really change the trajectory of families because their children got educated. And that's what I'm proud of. But what I'm most proud of is my own children. Good or bad, every parent makes mistakes, but they are strong, powerful women making a change in the lives of others. And your wife, I'm so proud of her. I mean, this wonderful young lady who used to be this little tiny baby, these are the things I'm the most proud of when people ask. I say my family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now you too, sir.
No, that's dope. That's dope. So what would you say like your student body population when you was at Ames? And then you talked about
Oh,
you
yeah.
over the school and
Yeah.
superintendent over that.
Mhm.
What was like the student body, like I guess the amount, like with the quantity of the student body?
So when I started out there, it was majority Asian. When I had my last year, we were almost 50-50 Asian, African American, Asian from the various diasporas, African American, African American descendants of those who were stolen and enslaved, Black folk, and so we were working on growing our Latino population because we are in Oakland. Majority free and reduced high level second language learners. And from the time we jumped to our SELPO, we have almost doubled our special education population. And so I know under Director Deborah Woods, next year those numbers will probably be triple. This awesome Deborah Woods that's knocking it out of the park.
It sounds like some person. That's good. I come from a pretty big school, ISD, back in East Texas.
Tyler.
Yeah, I think when my graduation class came about, I think we was the biggest graduation class come through at that time.
Oh, wow.
So it was thousands.
Lots of y'all.
Yeah. And freshman year, we started out with, I think we started out with a little bit of 1,000, and we
Wow.
was like one of the classes that
That's
really stuck through
huge.
it.
Yeah.
And throughout, because
Yeah.
I think through school years or through the 4 years of high school or whatever, along the way you lose,
Right.
kids drop off,
Attrition.
stuff happens,
Yeah.
and it's uncontrollable, and you never know even when it comes down to it. And we found ourselves looking around where some of our friends, classmates were like, "Man, you was just here last," even like the last year was like, "You were just here last week, last month." And what we would have known, keeping in touch with kids and really focused on what's important to them and how to get them to the finish line. It's a really big deal.
You hear a lot of people talk about, well, work's not family and you shouldn't mix those words and blah, 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 blah. The only way I believe, at least in the context that I work,
Yeah.
right? Well, actually, and I've also worked at schools with very, very elite parents as far as economics, like million billionaires, right? And so I can say it also meets that population. Kids need a family environment, and at school they need to know they belong. They need to know they have a place. They need to know that they're caring adults because we do have right, right. Right.
Yes.
Because who do kids go to if they can't go to their parents? And many of them can. And I think that's important, but some of them don't. And some of them can, but they don't feel comfortable. It's a whole bunch of things. It's complex growing up, right? And the school needs to be that space that is available for children if they need it.
Yeah.
Bing, bang, bang.
Note, take that note right there. Go ahead.
So yeah, yeah.
So, tell me, what made you decide to get into your profession?
You
What
know,
made you decide to become this
this thing.
super awesome leader
It's funny,
with an education?
yeah.
Where do you see yourself going with this?
Um,
Where's your mountains?
where's my mountains?
Where do you see your mountains at? And what
It's
made you become and start climbing these type of mountains?
so it's funny, if you had looked at me as a student, you would have never thought I'd be a superintendent. I was very opinionated. This is his last podcast in memory of. My parents, they separated when I was 6, and, that created a interesting effect on my life. And, I have dysgraphia, which is interesting. Dysgraphia is a writing thing. So, and then I was that kid that I could do the work if I was engaged in it.
Yeah.
But if you didn't give me a reason for it, I was like, "Psh, okay." Which I've learned to develop out of that. And the dysgraphia is actually not a factor at all because now there's computers. I don't have to worry about writing stuff. And then when I do, I can write well with my thing. And sometimes you can read it and sometimes you can't.
I definitely can contest to
Yeah.
you don't have to wait. You're very motivated. I can
Yeah.
see the motivation.
You could do it. So, but I always felt, like I said, I grew up in a church and I knew I had a purpose and a mission. I knew from a young age that there were two things. I was praying at the altar as a child, probably about 12, 13. And I know the Lord told me two things. He said to sing in the choir. That was, the context at the time at the church and work with children. And so at 13, I signed up for the choir and I started teaching in nursery. And I've taught, VBS, children's church, and all of that. But I always knew even before that I felt like there was something I wanted to do. And I remember these words: to make children's lives better on a grand scale. This was even, yeah.
You to just being around kids and just wanted to just
Yeah.
be around.
I was that kid, and we used to have Friday night service. We had to go to Friday night service at their school every night, every Friday. And I was always that kid sitting on the row, and I'd lean out to make sure everyone was doing the right thing. I was that busybody kid, right? And so, but yeah, I always knew that I was going to, and I wanted to do something greater for kids and families on a larger scale. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. And so I got married, went through college, had Sydney, um, and actually, no, this was before Sydney. I was in a Bible college, actually, and Dr. Karen Enzer, I love you if you hear this. She looked at me and she said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "I don't know. I'm thinking about this." She said, "Well, why don't you teach? You have this." And she had seen me in children's church and all that. So I was like, maybe. So then I started working for a little bit at the church school, and then I was working there, and I was pregnant with Gabrielle, and Dr. Enzer again said, "Okay, there's a teaching program. You're going to sign up for it." And OUSD was hiring teachers. They were so desperate for teachers. They just were like, "If there's a teaching program and you got teachers, we'll take them." And I started at E. Morris Cox Elementary, 7 months pregnant, and in a teaching program. That was crazy. And yeah, taught first grade. And
Right.
phew, baby. And so stayed at E. Morris Cox and taught for a long time and was always volunteering for leadership. That's my phone. Let me hang it up. Always volunteering for leadership. positions and things like that. And my principal, Michael Scott, had a position, project facilitator, and he and I might tell this story different. Is that better? Can you hear me? He and I may tell the story differently. I laugh about that. Is it working? Oh, okay. And so he offered me to be a project facilitator. And at the time I was like, well, Mr. Scott, I can't, I wouldn't be with my children. I love being with children. He was like, well, you still be with the kids. And so I thought that he had offered me the job and I thought I accepted. So it comes to I thought. So it comes to like June or July or something, and we're talking about it, and he's talking about it like, I think I came back or whatever it was, and he's talking about it like I rejected the job, and I was talking about it like I accepted the job. And so he and I talked, and then it worked out, and I became a project facilitator, which is like a quasi-administrator, and actually helped them when they were organizing the charter school, which is a whole nother story of how, districts treat schools in the hood, and they kind of have no choice sometimes but to go charter because they get treated so bad. But that's another side story. And did that, and then back then, to be a principal in the district, you had to take a test and a class, and so we did that. And there was a group of us that did this, and I was told by an administrator who shall not be named because she wasn't supposed to tell me this, that there were two people that scored the highest in the district. One was, yes, Charles Wilson. If you're listening, I will give you your props because you were the only one that scored higher than me. Go ahead. And Charles.
Hey,
somebody challenged him, but it was close. And me, and so the rest is history. I became a principal. Then from there, went on to the director. There were some interesting things happening with OUSD's finance at the time. So then I ended up working with a independent school, Convent of Sacred Heart, which taught me a lot more about what was possible because those were children of wealth and the things that were able to be provided for them. I kind of took that and I was happy there. I had a beautiful office, loved the school, loved the kids, loved the families. Got recruited from Ames board because they were going through turmoil and they knew my work and didn't want to do it. Turned them down at first. And the Lord was like, so what you not getting about this? You said you wanted to do impact and I put it and you're not. So I took it and, got an awesome team and we did awesome work and turned that, or it was always high performing academically, but we got it high performing overall and took the academics even higher, and where they were not diverse became diverse because Black folks like to go where there are Black folks in leadership because I think they believe, well, let me speak for myself. As a parent, I used to like to put my children where I knew that there were people that understood their experience because representation matters. So our population really grew and our kids did really well and some other things happened. And I think people made choices because they're human and hopefully they'll reflect. And, I support the new leader that they have and I wish him well. And I hope that those who kind of maybe did what they did to me as a leader will move out of his way and let him lead. Right.
So if you could have say a fresh slab of concrete with unlimited resources, and I guess like when I say concrete, I think of like a solid foundation, a solid foundation of concrete with nothing in it. And
Yeah.
you get to build this thing up to however you want to from ground up, and you had unlimited resources. What would you, how would this thing look?
So
Picture, give me like
a school or a business or a what?
Whichever way you want to go.
Sure.
If I just go, hey,
Here you go. Magic wand. Okay.
It's just like that.
Right.
Hey, unlimited, say, American Express Platinum.
Okay.
And then just do what it do. What would you do?
I would create a community.
Okay.
And in the community, I would have the opportunity for families and people that maybe traditionally get overlooked to be able to get solid careers.
What do you mean by community?
Like a
physical,
a town, a city. I don't know. No. That's some other stuff. Not that. But, a place where people will be able to get educated, feed their families, and have a good life and be able to, it's probably going back to the quote unquote American dream, like people be able to have every chicken in a pot, right? Or every pot with a chicken and a home and good schools for their children.
Correct.
That's really like macro, large, make the world a better place stuff. What that looks like for me right now, my current mountain is, now let me not. I would never turn down the possibility of another superintendency,
Yeah.
right? Maybe I'd love to be a college president, right? Because that affects the future in a different angle, HBCUs, you're looking for a seasoned leader. That's me. So, but right now in my current season of life and the mountain where I am is this Novus Mundus 360, which is an organization I've founded and lead, uh, really to try to train boards to do better, to try to train leaders and to give support to teachers. I'll be doing webinars and on-demand stuff, and I'll have some paid stuff and some free stuff. And I'll be going into schools and, giving them reviews and feedback on.
So this is your new baby?
This is my baby. This is my Novus Mundus. So Novus Mundus means new world. Novus Mundus 360. It's a 360 because I want to be able to help them look at their finances. I've got some amazing folks. I got a guy out of DC. It's on my website. If you just on my LinkedIn. My website, novusmundus360.org. And he does, political advocacy. So he would be able to train, and he's going to be an awesome politician one day. Someone needs to put him in office and have power. His name is Marlon Gatrell out of DC, and he's actually out of Cali, but he's in DC. But somebody needs to put this brother in office because he's the real deal. Shout out to Marlon. But, how to navigate politics in the education world. And I've got an awesome finance person, Katima Ballantyne. And for Katima, 8 years, we have never had a negative audit. And she taught me finance when I was a principal. And I needed someone to come in and reorg our finances. And that was my girl. She did it. And, we had positive reserves in the millions, multi-millions, thanks to Katima. Now, where they are now, I don't know. And it might be a great place, but Katima's awesome. I've got an awesome person who understands credentialing like no other. I've got an awesome finance guy. I've got Dr. Tanja Thompson, who understands like mediation and HR. She's got her doctorate in it. I've got an awesome legal guy, Seth Feldman, who also has a background in educational leadership, and he can come in and do your reviews. But also, a needed thing for CEOs is these law firms, which are great, but it's like speaking Greek to someone who, may speak, speaking Latin more so to someone who doesn't have a Latin derivative language. So how do we know when we're reviewing our legal docs that they should look like what they look like? And how do we know we're paying a fair price and things like that? And so Seth is great in that. Seth is great also in investigations and mediations. And so I've got an awesome team. And also, everything I kind of have been blessed to acquire in my backpack. And to come into schools and just look at and give them feedback and next steps and offer coaching and things like that. Because I know that I was able to positively impact, all 1,300 a year plus kids at Ames, but through Novus Mundus, I can have a positive impact on a broader scope.
So with this Novus Monday?
Mundus.
No, Novus Mundus.
60.
Novus Monday 360.
New World 360.
New World 360. Can you spell that out for just for
NOVUSMUNDUS 360.org. I did. Yes.
Yes. So you're looking for what you're trying to reach out? What's your your geographic or or how big of a reacher you're trying to reach with? What are you expecting to or wanting to look like or when your reach is?
So I've targeted 3 states. One is your great state of Texas.
Okay.
All right, Texas. The big state of Texas. All right. Of Texas. California and Nevada, because those are big states, but those are big charter states. Yes.
Tell me about that. I'm still lost in. I'm not really dived into this charter thing.
Sure.
It's a big thing.
It's a big
growing thing.
It's been around and there's a lot of misconceptions. So charter schools are public schools. The charter schools that I led were solely publicly funded. In the past, their were funders, not from my organization, but others that had deep pockets, but now they're on to other things. And so they're on the public dollar just like everyone else. We were on the public dollar just like everyone else. Our charter schools, but we were able to get 100% of our kids to college. We were able to get kids touring Boston. I strongly know, not believe, know it is in the plans that you set, the goals, and that board. Everything starts with your board. And when you have a good board, you're doing okay. But when you get a board in there that's not okay, the system tears down. In fact, that's my upcoming training. If you want to go to novusmundus360.org on August 27th, there'll be a training on that for boards. There needs to be a choice. Some schools will work great for some kids and some schools won't. Public schools are great traditional public schools, and so are public charter schools.
Is that like public school? The charter schools are publicly funded like the charter.
Right, right.
Like a private, like a regular public school.
Regular public school.
Is charter schools are funded like that as
Right.
well?
Our schools existed on state funding and federal funding and local funding. And we don't take away. There's this misconception that,
Is it a private school?
It is not a private school. We are held to the same accountability as public, at least in California, and I know it's getting that way in Nevada and Texas too.
Okay. Well, it just happened in Texas. I don't know about the charter side, but
Yes.
where they're trying to get private schools public funding.
Yes. That's different than charter schools.
That's what I was trying to like.
Yeah.
It's kind of yeah. Because I know charter schools are not part of the public ISDs that are own independent.
Interesting enough, or depending on your state and your system, they are authorized by ISDs. So we were authorized by the OUSD, Oakland Unified School District.
Almost like magnet schools, is that the
In a way, but we have our own superintendent. We do our own finances. We hold our own accountability. So everything that a traditional superintendent does, I did. Right. There you go. Now that other stuff, it is not my realm to speak on. I'm not educated enough because it wasn't applicable to the work that I'm doing. At the time, it may become it, and I have to learn it.
No, that's you just enlightened me on a lot because I look back at the middle school I went to. We and all of my alumni, we had the best middle school at our ISD back in Tyler. And Tyler, Texas, the rose capital of the world. Just letting you guys remind you. Stewart Middle School. And it was public IST school. And out of all the middle schools, they turned this one particular middle school into like a charter school, similar, like a magnet charter school. Out of all the ones, we had the best one.
Right.
The best school, and they eventually ended up shutting. I think they shut our middle school down, but it was the best middle school in the whole district.
Oh, wow.
And it was so diverse that it was a 50-50 school. It's split between the two public high schools in diversity.
Right.
So we was like the melting pot middle school of all the middle schools.
Oh, wonderful.
Right on the line of both high schools. So when everybody left, it was split even down the middle of kids went there, and it was like so diverse. Even when I can remember, they kind of use our school similar. I remember growing up almost like a test school. They put the boot camp in our school, every kids from all the other kids, and they sent them to a boot camp and started the boot camp on our middle school campus.
Oh, wow.
When we were integrating with the middle school kids there. And it was just so many different things, but we had the best school.
Right.
And then they end up defunding it. School, they're shutting down our school out of all the schools and turning it to some independent charter
It's
school. So
very frustrating because what seems to be like Ames, we were working for brown children, black children, and when you say brown, people think one population, but there's a lot of brown. It covers brown, right? It's Asian. So, we were working for kids new to this country who needed. You asked me some of my favorite moments. One of mine was a couple years ago. We got a young man in from. Well, he came in from Yemen, and he had been through the camps and all of the experience, and he came to us not speaking English, and He had a rough time because he had to go through those camps, right? The kids that come through camps. Really, we have a really high Yemeni population, fabulous families. By the end of the ye well, by the time he came to us when he was younger, and by the time he graduated, he was like just all-American kid, goofy kid, fun kid, going to college. And, we always have our kids walk across the stage, and they'll shake hands and give hugs, and he looked at me, he said, "You've made the, biggest difference in my life."
That's it.
That's it.
That's amazing.
This kid w
That
came
is
from a war-torn country through the camps
that stuff will
to
last you
Amer
a
yeah,
lifetime with them. It'll
yeah.
take it forever.
It'll last a
And
lifetime for me. It froze me in my tracks for a minute.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, man. Yeah.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That reminds me of my Boys and Girls Club days. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, it's totally is awesome.
I got
Uh,
sidetracked, sorry.
no, you good. No, you just made me think of, because um that's I love to working with young people and I've pretty much it's kind of a thing that I love to mentor them and I see a young kid inspire them all the time. Inspire them no matter because it inspires me to see the brightness on their eyes when they light up when you start talking about things and it's draws so much inspiration into them and
Absolutely.
they just light up like a light bulb and because they see the picture, but they was like,
Mhm.
that's like a facade to them, like way in the clouds, but they was like, how they just wanna wish they could be in those clouds. But you gotta just, giving them the tools.
One
Wanna
of
know
the
what
few ways you will ever be, to live eternally, right? I mean, you'll live eternally in heaven, but, one of the few ways to be immortal, is through that. The impact that you put into their lives, that they will put into someone else's lives, that the people they put into will put into those lives. The seeds you sow will grow into plants that will last forever.
oh, nice. It made me drop that down. It's that
Let me see, that's copywritten, but anyway.
I like that. I like that. So with this power of people, I'm working on this edition to get this edition for this magazine out. This is the podcast, but it's working to get our next edition out. It's the edition I want to name the edition. It's aspire to inspire.
Okay.
Aspire to inspire.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
what's up. Good, good.
person or individual you aspire to be more, to inspire others. And that leads me to my next question. What other people have been inspirational to you in the work, in the line of work that you do or along your path, your career,
Mhm.
and how did they inspire you? And what
Absolutely.
events, how does so
Well, I think first and foremost, my mother and father, right? My father, regardless of whatever else was going on in his life, he always had the food program, Operation Reach. I grew up with probably reason in my life I've never used drugs and never will is in the 70s, people were coming back from Vietnam and they were heroin addicted. So Operation Reach was a health clinic with Dr. Tolbert Small and my father and my mother. We connected to the Black Panther Health Program and it was a methadone clinic. And it was a food program, methadone clinic, and we would do church services and other healthcare. But just seeing that commitment to service my whole life, everyone needs love. And like my mother, the way that my mother served people at her funeral, there were people talking about ways that she made their life better that I had no idea that she was doing. Now, my mother had one income and she was raising three girls. She kept a house note.
pretty
She
tough.
Man, we bought some boss people, right? And, she kept us in schools. I was the only one, and it was because I was hard-headed probably, that went between public schools and, parochial. But she paid tuition. She went to school herself. She got her master's degree. You know, but yet she never ceased to serve people. I remember there was senior citizens after church. My mother would drive them home. Now she has us in the car. She's been working a full week, going to school. But Friday night and Sunday night, we'd have those two ladies, because they didn't have a way to get home and put
Yeah.
them in the car. We'd go down to the 90s or the 60s or 70s. Those are all like avenues in Oakland. And drop them off. She'd wait and make sure they get in the car. It was late. And then she'd go home, single mother herself, make sure her girls, I mean, the way that she showed love and served people consistently, the greatest impact. And, just seeing the people in my church and my family, the way that they gave, tirelessly. Sometimes it wasn't always in the right way, but the heart and the commitment was there. And
Wow. You have any leaders in your profession that you had looked up as you was coming along the way that really just you was like,
Yeah.
"Man, that person, they
Mhm.
got something. They got it in. I hope to be better than them one day," or,
Right.
or
I
take what they got and blow it up
Sure.
like they did.
I had negative and positive
Yeah,
examples,
yeah.
right? I was blessed enough to see some tremendous people. Randy Ward was the first superintendent I served under as a principal, and to see the leadership from an entrepreneurial lens. Like he literally said to us, "Look, that was awesome, man." I mean, that still drives a lot of the things I do. He said to us, "You all are the entrepreneur of your school site." And this dude would he would go to school sites, and then he wouldn't come in the front door, he'd walk around the school sites first to check everything out and see what's the condition of the school. He was awesome. Kevin Woolridge, and Kevin was tough. Whew, Kevin was tough, but he had a commitment to excellence. Delia Ruiz, Delia saw leadership in me. She my first Nexo as a principal? Yeah, she was my first network executive officer, assistant suit equivalent. Donald Evans, Denise Sadler, who's their current superintendent at OUSD. Gary Yee, in his own way. Gary Yee was a principal, and his wife was actually one of my mentors when I became a principal. And Gary was a principal and he was a superintendent and all this, and he retired. And then OUSD needed someone to take the helm during a very diverse time. Gary came back into superintendency at a time when people should have been retired. And so I said to him one day, "I want to be a superintendent." He said, "Well, come by, let's talk about it." And I went by and he told me, he was like, "Well, you got to get in doctoral." But he took me, he could have been like, "Well, that's good, kid." You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
he and Gary really, I knew his wife who was a mentor, but Gary didn't know me from Adam. But the commitment that he took. So there's a lot of people, right? And everyone you look at, I think you get examples of what to do and what not to do.
What about, are you inspired by any of, other family besides your
Well, I
wonderful
mean,
mother and your wonderful dad,
you all inspire
wife?
me.
Yeah,
I mean,
give
like,
us a little like, a
um,
little bit, because 'cause you're an inspired person, you inspire us.
I
I
I don't
think
think
you
I
can take
know
a
that. I
lot.
don't know
I
if
don't
I
think you
believe
take a
that.
lot they have for you, I see it, I see it, so I give you some
Oh,
love, so
thank you.
you do, you are inspiring.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
I guess some people call it bootstraps, from the bootstraps up, or and then some people call them, a person that's out pounding the ground,
Some people call it a tough old bird. No, I mean, okay, there you go. I mean, my sisters, Lauren and Marcy, they inspire me. They all have their strengths. And my mother was fiery, so she had 3 fiery daughters. Yeah, all 3 of us, in our own, we're all the elements, right? You all, I mean, you and Meg, you guys are out here making it happen. And you're raising an amazing young man.
We just try to make
And
it.
and I learned from you, like, I'm learning podcasts from you, and, I'm gonna turn this over into something.
Hey,
But, just, my own girls, like, in their own way, seeing them go through their power and their struggle. And I don't mean struggles in a bad way. I mean, like, Sid had to go through PWIs and got her degree from Wellesley, a very prestigious university, and then go on and put her bootstraps on and get through med school. And now she's at Stanford in ER, and ER is nothing pretty. Like I watch The Pit, and I'm like, oh, I pray for her. Because even though that's TV, just the thought that my daughter is going through some of that is crazy to me. But I'm inspired by like her strength, and she's always been a strong
oh,
person. And, yeah, I know you catch the fire sometimes, but in a good way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and so I'm inspired by her. I'm inspired by, Gabby. Like Gabby, Gabby's always thinking, okay, I got this, but what's the next thing I got to do? You know, um,
I see
y-
both you and Sid and Gabby. I see you.
You see
both
me and both girls?
you passing the torch to Sid playing the
Yeah.
sister mommy, and she
To
play the mommy, and then
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I
got it.
mean, they're just powerful women. Before I could say, "Oh, they were my children," but now they're their own. I said to them once, I don't know if they'll remember or not, but when they're 18, I said to them, like, "Your life is now your own. You're grown, right?" It didn't mean I stepped away and left them alone, but and they're just powerful women, and they did it themselves within their own power,
And
you
you can
know?
see it. You can
Yeah.
it's like vibrant.
Yeah.
It vibes off of them.
Yeah,
You see?
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they're highly blessed by God. Yeah, that spark, that
They do.
yeah,
They have a
they do.
strong presence.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's a good thing.
yeah, it is, it is. So, life inspires me. The Bible talks about, nature speaking to the wonders of God, and it's true. It just is true. You wake up, you don't even control the way you breathe. I look at that grass is growing without you doing anything to it, worrying about it. Yeah, nonetheless, whether you put some work into it or not, brother, that grass is gonna grow. So, yeah, I mean, definitely, my family, those who are with us in spirit and those of us who are with us in flesh. Yeah, yeah.
You have a beautiful family, and you did
To
an
God be the
amazing
glory.
job.
It's
I
not
love the
me,
way
but
that
to
they
God
love
be the
them.
glory.
Hey, what they say, the seeds that you sow,
Yeah.
you reap the harvest.
Yeah.
Reap the harvest. Therefore, the
Eventually,
seeds
yeah.
that you have sowed,
You so.
you
Yeah,
sowed,
yeah, yeah.
come in even during the seasons that you wasn't even expecting. So,
Yeah.
and by you could tell
Yeah.
by what the fruit that you bear.
Yeah.
So,
And I say
and
eventually
so
because I've yet to like they are so powerful and wonderful within themselves, and I may not even be around to see like the full impact of who they are, I mean, the mountains they're gonna climb is gonna be the mountains you're gonna climb is gonna be amazing. You don't know yet the path that God has for you, but if you stay faithful to Him, right, the things that are in your future are amazing. You just gotta let God lead you.
yeah, I definitely agree. It's been a big thing that I've been trying to grasp discipline, sticking with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out that one thing, and that's one thing I see about you or inconsistence throughout that is the discipline to stick with something.
Mhm.
But I have the discipline that gets to grab something
Yeah.
and do it and great with it. But it's like,
The fun
okay,
stuff is
nice.
easy.
That's conquered that enough.
Yeah.
But the discipline to, like you say, stay faithful to it.
Yeah.
Stay faithful to it and see how far I actually take it.
Mm.
Yeah, man, thanks. That's a great word. I mean, putting a little riling me up a little bit back in the inside. Teapot
Good.
warm.
But they say let the spirit move you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So a little fun. What do you do when you go out or like a little fun night?
It's a
If you
good
had a night out, a
question.
fun night, what would be your ideal of something fun?
Sure. So, I'm figuring that out because, being a superintendent is no small job. Well, if you do it certain ways, is no small job, right? And so now that I'm emeritus and I'm doing this job and things, I'm figuring that out. Like being able to come here for little boy's first day.
You're discovering yourself.
Yeah.
Feel like
I don't know if that's the right term. I don't know if I'm rediscovering myself. I think I'm just noticing more adventures to go on, if that makes sense.
know what I hear.
Huh?
All right. This is fun. This is fun.
Uh-huh.
Okay. This is the fun.
All right. Come on now. What you got? What you got? No.
Noticing more adventures mean you're taking the time to take things in. You appreciating the moment. You're taking the moment in to
Yeah.
notice more adventures.
If someone says to
So
me
so
tomorrow,
you're opening your eyes a little bit wider and you're taking the emotions
right.
or the moment. You're taking your time to take it in, I
Mhm.
guess. And noticing more adventures is taking the time to do the things that you want.
I'm appreciating every breath, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. And if someone says to me tomorrow, hey, I got this ticket to Bora Bora, yeah,
You should.
I'm packing. Now I'll figure out the rest of life. I'll take my laptop and figure out working, but I'm in Bora Bora, brother. So, yeah.
I love that. I
Mhm.
love that. No, that's good. Sometimes we get caught up in life and so focused we forget to take the time for ourselves to, like you say, notice more.
Yeah.
And
Enjoy
notice
every breath because the breaths
life is short.
go faster the older you get. if that makes sense.
Do they?
Yeah, man, they do. They really do. You blink and, your son just had his first day of kindergarten. And I remember your wife's first day of kindergarten like yesterday. I remember Sydney and Gabby's first day of kindergarten like it was
We'll
yesterday.
talk about my wife's first.
The fact that I led Ames 11 years and it felt like I just walked in the door is, like time is fleeting. You know what I'm saying? Well, there's some political stuff and people acting in ways, so I don't want to necessarily get too much into that. But, well, if you
Get
weren't
that
teasing
that little
everybody about,
vibe.
if you weren't
Oh, you.
teasing everybody about being teary-eyed, I might have cried.
Oh, I'm sorry. I ruined that moment. I was taking
You just
it
took
out.
away a
I
precious
ruined that
moment.
mo- This is the new school year. It's a new start of the school
Yeah,
year for you. From the outside, seeing the school year.
right.
How would that feel? How did you see that?
This is the first year that I'm not like worried about, yeah, oh man, I got to be there. It's gone. So it's interesting. I had when I was a principal, I had an amazing friend who's just an awesome principal. She's retired for a while now. Carolyn Howard. She was at Howard University. Howard University. She was at Howard Elementary. And the first year when she retired, I was texting. I was like, "Hey, how's it like?" And she was like, I don't have to get up. I could be in my bed, you know. It's like it's because I think
Does it feel
it doesn't feel
more?
weird, like, and I think maybe like being here for him and for with you all, maybe a distraction also, and also just thinking about like what does it look like to build things out to help other schools. So I don't feel it's not. I thought it would be kind of bittersweet. But it's more, yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
also focused on doing what I can within my sphere of influence to make sure that the current leader at Ames is successful. Just having conversations with folks that if they try to bring it up in a negative way, bring it up in a positive way. And so maybe that's my way of feeling like I'm still contributing to the work. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You do. Okay, I hear you. I hear what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll leave it
I'll
at
leave
that.
that one at that.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to the end here. Is there anything that you would like to leave with us or to mention that I didn't ask, or anything that you want?
If I had to give, I was so presumptuous if I were in a position to give advice, I would just remind people to just live in the moment. Don't let things live rent free in your head. Let time pass. If there's something that got you upset or something you feel you can't do or some mistake you made or, all these things that when you're younger get caught up in your head and you let it live rent free, like let all that go. Life is short and celebrate the joyful things. So they say the joy of the Lord, the peace that passes all understanding. I think we as a people, and particularly where we live in right now in this particular space in history, we got to do, of course, what we can do to make the world a better place. And then I think people get so worked up on the drama that by the time you actually may have a fight to fight, you're so beat down. You know what I mean? You got to just live and let life be joyful.
Nice. Look at that.
There you go.
So once again, before we get out of here, let the people know who you are,
Uh-huh.
how they can reach you,
Absolutely.
for your tags.
And I'm looking up this number, actually. So my name is Maya Woods-Cadiz. I am a superintendent emeritus of Ames K-12 College Prep Charter District in Oakland, California, which I led successfully for the past 11 years. And my new venture is I am the founder and CEO, principal of Novus, Novus, Mundus 360.org, novusmundus360.org. We do trainings. We will come out and speak. We will inspire. We will do 360 reviews. We're doing on-demand trainings and webinars, and all towards the goal of making every school, whether you are private, charter, or traditional public, a better place for children, because that's how we get a better world. And if you want to just reach out and have a conversation, my phone number is United States 1 area code 916-299-6170. And give me a call. And if there are some, like I said, some HBCUs that are looking for leadership, that's the next mountain I want to look at some point. And superintendencies that would come and make the world a better place. I'm well trained. In fact, I've gone through 2 superintendent programs, one being at a HU, Howard, HU, you know. And so
HBCU.
HBCU, but novusmundus360.org, and give me a call, 916-299-6170. Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you, Auntie Maya.
All
It's
right.
been a great conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you
This
for
was
joining the
fun.
Power of the Plan.
There
You
you
have
go.
inspired the people to.
All right.
Yeah.
Power to the people.